Billionaire's wife pretended to be poor Maid. Her husband fell for her sister. Instead, what happened next will shock you to your core. Before I tell you this story, please like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to our channel, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The story you're about to listen to changed my life forever, and I hope it touches your heart too. My name is Maya, and I'm 73 years old now. People often ask me why I never remarried after my first husband left me. They don't understand that some wounds cut so deep they change the very fabric of who you are. Today I want to tell you about the biggest mistake of my life and how it led to the most shocking betrayal I could never have imagined. It was 1995, and I was 25 years old. My father, Richard Blackstone, owned half the steel factories in the country. Our family name appeared on buildings, charity foundations, and business magazines. I had everything money could buy, but what I didn't have was genuine love from someone who saw me as Maya, not as Maya Blackstone, the billionaire's daughter. That's when I met Jake at a small coffee shop near the university. I had gone there wearing simple jeans and a plain t-shirt, trying to blend in with regular people. He was sitting alone, reading a worn-out book about business strategies. His clothes were clean, but clearly old. His shoes had small holes, and when he ordered coffee, I noticed him counting coins carefully before paying. Something about his determination drew me in. He wasn't trying to impress anyone or wearing fake designer clothes. He was just real. When our eyes met, he smiled genuinely, not the calculating smile I was used to from men who knew my family's wealth. We talked for 3 hours about his dreams, of starting his own business, about working night shifts at a warehouse to save money, about his sick mother who needed expensive medication. Over the next few months, I kept meeting him at that coffee shop. I told him I worked as a secretary at a small company, that I lived in a tiny apartment, that I was just getting by like everyone else. I had actually rented a small apartment under a fake name to maintain my disguise. Every time I met Jake, I felt more alive than I had in years, but each lie I told to protect my secret felt heavier. The turning point came on a cold December evening when Jake told me about his mother's worsening condition. She needed surgery that cost more than he could make in 5 years, and he was considering taking a loan from dangerous people. Here was this beautiful man, willing to risk his life for his mother, and I was sitting there with enough money to solve his problems with a single phone call. But I couldn't tell him yet. I needed to know if his love for me was real. 2 weeks later, I arranged for Jake's mother to receive an anonymous donation that covered her surgery and medical bills. I watched from the hospital corridor as Jake cried with relief, holding his mother's hand as she went into the operating room. He never knew I was there, but seeing his joy made every lie worth it. On New Year's Eve, Jake proposed to me with a ring he had bought from a pawn shop. The diamond was tiny, probably worth less than what I spent on coffee each month, but it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. We had a small wedding at the courthouse with 2 strangers as witnesses. I wore a simple white dress from a discount store, and it was the happiest day of my life. The first few months of marriage were wonderful. We lived in a tiny apartment, but we were happy. Jake got a better job at a small accounting firm, and I pretended to work part-time jobs. While secretly managing my trust fund, I sent anonymous donations to charities in Jake's name and slowly started building a plan to reveal my true identity once our love was strong enough to survive it. That's when everything started falling apart. Jake's younger sister, Sophia, returned from studying abroad in France. What Jake hadn't mentioned was how stunning she was, or how her years in France had given her a sophisticated charm that made everyone around her feel ordinary. The first time I met Sophia, I was scrubbing dishes in our tiny kitchen wearing an old apron with stains on it. She was wearing a designer dress that I recognized from Paris Fashion Week, and standing next to her, I felt invisible. During dinner, Sophia entertained us with stories of her life in Paris, talking about business, conferences, wealthy classmates, and exclusive parties. Jake hung on every word, and I watched his face transform as she offered him opportunities in international markets with her European connections. Over the next few weeks, Sophia visited more frequently. She would arrive looking perfectly put together while I was cleaning or cooking, making me feel like hired help in my own home. She brought Jake business books, showed him market research, and gradually started involving him in late-night phone calls with her supposed European contacts. I wanted to tell Jake the truth, to reveal that I could offer him opportunities beyond anything Sophia was promising, but something held me back. Maybe it was pride, or maybe it was the growing fear that Jake was falling in love with the idea of the life his sister represented. The breaking point came on our first wedding anniversary. I had saved money for weeks to buy Jake a watch and spent the entire day preparing a special dinner. But Jake didn't come home. At 8 o'clock, I called his office and learned that Jake had left early with a beautiful woman with a French accent. I waited until midnight, the candles burning, down to nothing, the dinner getting cold. When Jake finally walked in, he seemed surprised to see me sitting at our decorated table. He had forgotten our anniversary to go to a business meeting with Sophia. When I asked about what we already had, Jake looked around our apartment as if seeing it for the first time and asked what we really had besides just surviving. That night, Jake slept on the couch. Something had changed between us. He started spending more evenings with Sophia, working on their business plan, talking excitedly about market opportunities and profit margins, but he barely seemed to see me anymore. The final twist came 3 months later when I discovered I was pregnant. I sat in the clinic parking lot for an hour, holding the ultrasound photo, trying to process what this meant. A baby would give us a chance to rebuild what we had lost and remind Jake why he had fallen in love with me in the first place. I drove home with excitement and hope, planning to tell Jake over dinner. But when I opened the door to our apartment, I heard voices coming from the bedroom. Jake's voice and Sophia's voice, speaking in hushed, intimate tones. My heart stopped as I crept closer to listen. Jake was saying they couldn't keep doing this, that it wasn't fair to Maya. But Sophia argued that Maya was holding him back from his potential, that he deserved someone who could match his intelligence and help him build an empire. Then I heard the sound that shattered my world completely. Jake was kissing his sister. I realized with sick clarity that Sophia wasn't his biological sister, but his stepsister, adopted into his family when they were teenagers. But they had grown up together, called each other brother and sister, and now this. I backed away from the door, my hand instinctively moving to my stomach where our child was growing, as I heard them making plans for their future together. But the worst was yet to come. Sophia revealed that there were no European contacts, no import-export business, no investors. She had made it all up to get Jake away from me. The emails, documents, market research, even the phone calls with European investors, all fake. She had orchestrated everything because she had loved Jake since they were teenagers and realized she was going to lose him forever to me. When Jake asked why she would do this, Sophia said she loved him and that Maya didn't understand business or have any real goals. She convinced him that Maya was built for accepting mediocrity, while he deserved someone who could help him conquer the world. Then Jake mentioned that he thought I might be pregnant, and Sophia said they needed to move faster. A baby would trap him in this life forever, she argued. They made plans to leave that very night for Chicago, where Sophia claimed to have already found an apartment. I couldn't listen anymore. I quietly left the apartment and sat in the rain for 2 hours until I was soaked through and shivering. Then I went back inside to face whatever came next. Jake and Sophia were in the living room now, making plans for their new life. When I walked in dripping water, Jake jumped up with guilt on his face. This was my moment. I could tell him about the pregnancy, could use our unborn child to fight for our marriage. I could reveal my true identity, could offer him wealth beyond anything Sophia had promised. I could expose her lies and manipulations. Instead, I made a decision that would haunt me for decades. I simply said I was fine, just tired. I went to our bedroom, packed a small bag with my most important belongings, including the ultrasound photo Jake would never see, and wrote a short letter explaining that I needed time to think about our marriage. I didn't mention the pregnancy. I didn't reveal my wealth. I didn't expose Sophia's lies. I simply left. I walked out of that apartment and out of Jake's life, carrying his child and all my secrets with me. I took a taxi to the other side of town and checked into a hotel under my real name, Maya Blackstone, for the first time in over a year. That night, I called my father's lawyer, and within hours, arrangements had been made for me to stay at a UAE's private estate owned by Henry Morrison, a kind older man who had known me since I was a child. Henry didn't ask questions when I arrived with red eyes and a small suitcase. He simply welcomed me in and told his housekeeper to prepare my favorite childhood meal. I spent the next 3 months in Henry's peaceful home, watching my belly grow while my heart slowly broke into smaller pieces. I didn't contact Jake, and he didn't try to find me. During those quiet months, Henry became like a grandfather to me, attending doctor's appointments and helping me choose baby clothes. When Lily was born, a perfect, healthy girl with Jake's dark hair and my stubborn chin, I felt a love so pure and overwhelming that it made every moment of pain worth it. Henry officially adopted me as his heir, giving Lily and me his surname and his fortune. Morrison Industries was one of the largest investment firms in the country, and under Henry's guidance, I learned to manage wealth in ways that would benefit entire communities. By the time Lily was 3 years old, I had become Maya Morrison, respected businesswoman and philanthropist. I established scholarship funds for single mothers, funded medical research, and quietly supported families facing financial hardship. I founded Hope House, a shelter for single mothers that would become crucial to my story later. Over the years, I learned through mutual friends that Jake and Sophia had moved to Chicago together, but their fantasy business venture had crumbled when they realized Sophia had no real connections or money. Within 6 months, they were struggling financially, and their relationship was strained by reality. Sophia had developed a gambling problem and lost most of their remaining money, but I was no longer the same woman who had been devastated by their betrayal. Motherhood had changed me, strengthened me, shown me what real love looked like. The day I had been unconsciously preparing for came when I was in my office at Morrison Industries, reviewing investment proposals. My assistant announced that a man named Jake Collins was there to see me about emergency funding for a failing business. After 4 years of silence, Jake had come to me, not knowing who I really was, not knowing that the woman he had abandoned was now in a position to save or destroy him. When Jake walked into my office, he looked older and more worn down. He didn't recognize me in my tailored business suit, with my professionally styled hair and confident bearing. He launched into a desperate explanation of his failing consulting firm that he had started with Sophia. They had borrowed money from several sources, but without enough clients, they were facing bankruptcy. I listened silently as Jake told me about Sophia's personal issues that had affected her work performance, though I knew through my contacts that she had a gambling problem. When I asked about his personal life, Jake mentioned being married once to a woman who wasn't ambitious enough for the life I wanted to build, and dismissed our marriage as something that didn't work out. I made my decision in that moment. I offered Morrison Industries funding with specific conditions. Jake would attend comprehensive business management courses. Sophia would undergo counseling for her issues. He would work with my team for complete transparency. And most importantly, he would perform community service at a shelter for single mothers, 20 hours a week at Hope House. Jake was confused about the community service requirement, but I explained that successful businesses were built by people with strong character. His business had failed because he and Sophia had made decisions based on selfishness and deception rather than integrity and hard work. The irony was perfect. Jake had left me because he thought I was holding him back from success. Now his only path to success led directly through me, and he would be serving women who had been abandoned by men like him, caring for children whose fathers had chosen ambition over family. On Jake's first day at Hope House, he was nervous and out of place. The director, Carmen Rodriguez, had been a teenage mother who worked 3 jobs to put herself through nursing school. Jake struggled with basic kitchen tasks and seemed overwhelmed by the chaos of 20 children. He kept checking his watch and asking for breaks to make business calls. But something interesting happened during Jake's 3rd week. A new resident named Lisa arrived with her 4-year-old daughter, Emma, who was traumatized from fleeing an abusive relationship. Emma refused to speak to any adults, but Jake sat patiently on the floor building blocks nearby until she slowly approached and handed him a single red block. It was the first time Emma had interacted with anyone other than her mother since arriving. Over. The following weeks, Jake began to change visibly. He arrived earlier and stayed later, stopped asking about breaks, learned all the children's names, and developed real relationships with the families. The real transformation happened when Patricia arrived with her twin boys. Patricia had been married to a wealthy businessman who had controlled and eventually abandoned her, leaving her with nothing. Jake stayed extra hours playing with Patricia's boys while she met with counselors, and afterward Carmen found him sitting in the hallway, staring at the floor. Jake said he kept thinking about their father and what kind of man abandons his own children. Patricia's story paralleled his own treatment of me, and for the first time he was seeing abandonment from the perspective of those left behind. During Jake's 8th week, he had a conversation with Patricia that changed everything. She told him he was different from most men, who would see helping other people's children as beneath them. Jake admitted he used to think that way, focused on climbing above other people's problems rather than getting involved. Patricia shared how her husband always thought he deserved more than what they had built together, eventually deciding that more didn't include her and the boys. When Patricia asked if Jake regretted loving his ex-wife so completely, Jake realized he had destroyed the best thing that ever happened to him. His ex-wife Maya had been exactly like these women, generous, selfless, willing to sacrifice for the people she loved. He had thrown it all away because he thought he deserved something more exciting. Carmen found Jake alone in the kitchen that night, and he confessed that he had left Maya for another woman, broken her heart and probably ruined her faith in love forever. He said Maya deserved so much better than what he had become, and even if she could forgive him, he had nothing to offer her now. That's when Carmen began to suspect the connection between Jake and Maya Morrison, especially when Jake mentioned his ex-wife's name was Maya Collins. Carmen had known Maya for 3 years and had seen her dedication to helping abandoned women, always wondering what personal experience had driven such specific passion. Carmen was about to tell Jake something important when Maya called from the parking lot. She had been watching the security feed and heard enough of the conversation. It was time for them to finish this. Carmen brought Jake outside where Maya was waiting in the parking lot, illuminated by streetlights. When Jake saw her, he whispered, "Maya?" in disbelief, and sank to his knees on the sidewalk, the full weight of what he had done and what had just been revealed crashing down on him. Maya confirmed she was now Maya Morrison and had known who he was the moment he walked into her office. She had orchestrated everything: the business loan, the community service requirement, making him work at Hope House. She had been giving him a chance to become the man he should have been when they were married. Jake realized he had thrown away the most precious thing he ever had because he was too selfish to recognize its value. But Maya had one more revelation that would change everything between them forever. Maya told Jake he hadn't just abandoned her when he left. He had abandoned their daughter too. She had been pregnant when he left, had found out the same day. She overheard him and Sophia planning to run away together. She was going to tell him that night over their anniversary dinner, but instead heard him dismiss their marriage as a mistake and their unborn child as a burden. Jake collapsed to his knees again as Maya told him about Lily, 4 years old with his dark hair and stubborn chin, but her eyes and values. Lily was kind, generous, and loving, everything Jake could have been if he had chosen to be. Maya explained that she had heard Jake tell Sophia that a baby would trap him in a life he didn't want, so she chose to protect their child from feeling unwanted. When Jake asked to see Lily, Maya explained that their daughter didn't know about him. She had told Lily that her father wasn't ready to be a parent, that sometimes adults make mistakes that hurt people they love. But Lily was starting to ask questions, wondering why she didn't have a father like other children. Maya revealed the full truth about her identity. She had never been poor. Her father was Richard Blackstone of Blackstone Industries, worth over $50 million when they married. She had rented that apartment under a fake name, taken menial jobs to maintain the disguise, and hidden her wealth because she wanted to know if Jake could love her for who she was, not what she had. Every time Jake worried about money or his mother needed medical care, Maya could have solved those problems with a phone call. She had been planning to reveal her wealth on their anniversary night, to help him start the business he dreamed of, to give him opportunities beyond anything Sophia was promising. Instead, she discovered that Jake would choose fake promises of success over his pregnant wife. Carmen explained that Maya could have destroyed Jake completely with her resources, but instead gave him a chance to learn what she had tried to teach him during their marriage. That real wealth isn't measured in money but in love, service, and putting other people's needs before your own desires. Maya offered Jake a path forward. He would continue working at Hope House, rebuild his business ethically, and could meet his daughter. But as a friend first, not as the father who abandoned her. He would have to earn the right to be in Lily's life, and if he ever hurt her, Maya would make sure he never saw her again. Jake begged for the chance to prove he had changed, that he could be the father Lily deserved. Maya showed him a photograph of Lily, a beautiful 4-year-old with dark hair and bright eyes sitting on a swing and laughing with pure joy. Jake stared at the picture with tears falling onto it, seeing the child he had never known existed. But Maya had one more challenge. Sophia had been trying to contact Morrison Industries for months, claiming to be an old friend and asking for meetings. Maya believed Sophia had figured out her true identity and was planning something. Sophia hadn't changed. She was still manipulative and selfish, and now that she knew Maya was wealthy, she would try to benefit from that information. Jake's protective instincts were triggered, but the lessons he had learned at Hope House fought against his old patterns. Instead of reacting with anger, Jake said they needed to be smart and strategic, focusing on protecting what mattered most, Lily. 3 days later, Jake arrived at Morrison Industries for a proper business meeting. Maya had reviewed his revised business plan and found it honest, with realistic projections and sustainable growth rather than flashy promises. She offered him a partnership where his consulting firm would become a subsidiary, focused on helping small businesses owned by women and minorities. Maya also gave Jake a folder containing photos, videos, and letters from Lily's life over the past 4 years, her first steps, first words, drawings, and favorite songs. In one video, Lily showed her drawing of stick figures representing her family, pointing to an empty space saying, "This is where my daddy would go if I had one." Maya arranged for Jake to meet Lily that weekend as her friend, someone she knew a long time ago. When Jake arrived at Maya's beautiful suburban home, he was amazed by the elegant, love-filled environment his daughter had been living in, so different from the modest lifestyle he had shared with Maya during their marriage. Lily was perfect, intelligent, observant, confident without being spoiled. She showed Jake her building block castle where everyone was welcome regardless of their clothes or money, reflecting the values Maya had instilled. Jake marveled at his daughter's creativity, kindness, and obvious intelligence as they played together for hours. During dinner, as Lily chattered about her preschool friends and upcoming birthday party, Jake listened to every word with genuine interest. When Maya sent Lily upstairs to get her drawings, she asked Jake how he felt. He said his heart might explode. Lily was incredible, and Maya had done an amazing job raising her. But their reunion was interrupted when Lily called from upstairs that there was an upset lady at the front door. Maya and Jake both knew it was Sophia. Maya told Jake to keep Lily upstairs and away from the confrontation, while she handled Sophia alone, reminding him that Lily came first. Sophia appeared wild-eyed and desperate, claiming that things had changed, and she needed help because Thomas, her wealthy fiancé, had pressed charges against her and the police were looking for her. Maya refused to let Sophia into her home, saying she wasn't welcome there. Sophia desperately claimed they were family, through Jake and Lily. But Maya explained that family doesn't destroy each other for personal gain. When Sophia threatened to expose Maya's deception about hiding her wealth, Maya calmly told her to go ahead. People would see that when faced with real challenges, Jake chose to abandon his pregnant wife for fake promises. Sophia's final desperate plea was that she had nowhere else to go. But Maya reminded her that she should have thought about consequences before stealing from Thomas and committing fraud. When Sophia threatened to sue for access to Lily, Maya warned that her lawyers would destroy anyone who threatened a child's welfare. Jake appeared at the top of the stairs, and when Sophia made a final appeal to him as family, he told her they stopped being family when she chose to hurt the people he loved. Maya and Lily were his family now. Maya closed the door on Sophia, ending that chapter forever. She and Jake went upstairs where Lily had built a pillow fort, and Maya decided it was time to tell Lily the truth about who Jake really was. When Maya explained that Jake was her daddy, Lily asked if he didn't want her when she was a baby. Jake's heart broke at the question, and he honestly explained that he didn't know about her then, but he wanted to be her daddy now more than anything in the world. Lily asked if he would read bedtime stories, help her learn to ride her bike, and come to her birthday party. When Jake promised he would, Lily launched herself into his arms, exclaiming, "I finally have a daddy." 6 months later, Jake's consulting firm was thriving, focused on helping businesses owned by women and minorities. He lived 10 minutes from Maya and Lily, spending every possible moment with his daughter. Maya and Jake were rebuilding their relationship slowly, working together to raise their remarkable daughter. Sophia had been arrested and was serving time for fraud and theft. On a warm Sunday afternoon at the park, Jake was teaching Lily to ride her new bicycle while Maya watched from a bench. When Lily successfully rode independently for the first time, calling out, "Daddy, look, I'm doing it by myself," Jake beamed with pride. Maya realized that sometimes the worst thing that happens can turn out to be the best thing. Jake's abandonment had forced her to discover her own strength and build a meaningful life. Now it had brought them back together as better people and better parents. That night, as Jake tucked Lily into bed with Maya watching from the doorway, their daughter asked the question that summed up everything they had learned. "Daddy, are you going to stay this time?" Jake kissed her forehead gently and promised, "I'm going to stay forever, sweetheart." And this time, Maya knew he would keep that promise. The little girl who had once drawn pictures with an empty space for her daddy now had that space filled by a man who had learned that the greatest success in life was being worthy of her love. Hope this story touched your heart the way it touched mine when I lived through it. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most can become the people who love us the best, but only if they're willing to truly change. If this story inspired you, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, subscribe to our channel for more real-life stories, and let me know in the comments. Have you ever given someone a second chance that changed both of your lives? I read every single comment, and your stories inspire me to keep sharing mine. Thank you for listening to my journey from heartbreak to healing, and remember, it's never too late to become the person you were meant to be.